Hi everybody, so this is my unit. It's pretty much just dedicated to the Macabre. It's going to be based on Poe, Dickinson, and Shelley, and literary devices and parts of the story, all that good stuff. It's going to be for English, of course, 11th graders. These are the standards we're going to be addressing. Big ideas are to become familiar with literary devices and become comfortable with writing and learning researching techniques. And those are my student objectives, that students will be able to produce written narrative using multiple literary devices, that they'll be able to find literary devices in text and write them down in either a journal or a blog entry, and that students will be able to research authors and present findings to that class. So, as you'd imagine, we have a bunch of different types of assessments. So in my assessments, I have the entry level being a quick write. So what do they already know? I want them to access their prior knowledge and talk about what they already know about stories and or literary devices. And then for formative, I want them to complete a crossword on the devices and terms, have a quiz, write a rough draft, so like a narrative, using these elements and the different parts of the story, and then I want them to have an exit slip. So for their exit slip, I actually want them to have their graphic organizers completed a little bit more each day. So I plan to read The Black Cat with them and have them slowly complete those graphic organizers and then turn them in for an overall score as well. And then for my summative assessment, I'm going to have two different things. I'm going to have them do an essay where they analyze a short story that they have read and have them find the terms they learned within it. So, for example, if they chose the black cat, they'd have to find personification, alliteration, all those types of terms. And then they're going to do a presentation on their paper. So they're going to pretend that they're Poe or Dickinson or Shelley and explain the paper's findings and why they decided to write it that way. So they're going to say, I thought that the repetition of the S sound created a very eerie vibe, and that's why I threw it into the black cat. There's my link for the formative quiz information. There's the rubric for the paper, and here's my assessment summary. Next is lesson 1. So for lesson 1, we had a presentation. So they'll be able to click this link right here and see a presentation on Imagery. It goes through a bunch of different literary devices that they see in literature, and then they have a video that they watch as well on literary devices that they can see in common media and things like that. So they have songs and TV shows and things like that where they show that literary devices, hyperboles, allegories, allusions, all those types of things are in our popular media as well. And then they have guided notes, so they have to write down in their own words, in your own definition of what each of these literary devices are, and then draw an image, and then have an example of their own. And so they do that, and then they have some questions to answer as well. And these questions are also in the presentation, so they can answer them along with the guided notes. In lesson 2, we have our Weber size. So this is the one where they finally figure out the different parts of the story, and they end up taking notes on that, and then they write their own character sketches to try to get them to start thinking about a story. And they get to also start filling out their story's name and the plot diagram of what their story is going to be, and then they'll end up writing a rough draft for their story. Next is Lesson 3, and in Lesson 3 they work on their graphic organizers. So in their graphic organizers they have to dissect the black cat and work with a partner to do this, and find literary devices in it. So this is the rubric that they're graded on, and then here is an example. I don't know why all of the text decided to be upside down, but I also provided a downloaded doc, so that should be correct on there. It didn't show that way on my Word document, so hopefully that's fine. And then unit resources. So for their formative assessments at the end, they're going to have to research the authors. So you're going to have to research Dickinson, Poe, and Shelley. Therefore, I have provided links to each one of them. And then also, so they don't have to buy texts or anything like that, I have each of the texts for them to look over and read and take notes on digitally. And then devices, in case my Prezi wasn't all-inclusive enough, we have all of the literary devices and then a Quizlet created for them, so they can quiz themselves and test themselves on all those different things. And then for the writing, they have helpful links for parts of the story, characters, and then plotting a story, so how to make their own story. And each one of the headers on each of these are all Dickinson quotes, Shelley quotes, Poe quotes on different types of literary devices, mostly like alliteration, personification, all those types of things. And then we have our unit plan assessment, our unit plan template. And then in this one, pretty self-explanatory. We have our standards, big idea, unit goals and objectives, the summary, the assessment plan, the lessons, useful websites and such. So pretty much this is going to be a really interesting lesson, I hope. I hope to do this in October or so. That way the kids will be super excited about it for Halloween and all of that. And plus, kids usually seem to be excited about Poe, Dickinson, and Frankenstein. It's things that they've heard about and have some prior knowledge with. So I hope that that will give them the opportunity to look more inside of the text instead of just getting it for the first time and then trying to parse through it. I hope they have some familiarity with it already. And yeah, so the assessments should be pretty easy to grade, hopefully. Quick rate will be a credit or no credit type situation. The crossword will be easy to see if they just filled in random letters or not. The quiz will be on the terms, and since it is on a website, I use the quizstar4teachers.org. It will make it really easy to grade because they already have an account and I'll be able to see it that way. Or I know when I tried to figure out how to do it as a student account, it kind of seemed a little complicated. So I also had them have the option of taking it and then just turning it in class, because that way they don't have an excuse if they weren't able to figure it out this way. And then their paper rubric, I want to make sure that I provide that. That way they're able to see what is expected of them. And I think the most useful part of this entire digital unit plan would probably have to be the unit resources, because they provide a great deal of extra information that the students wouldn't get otherwise, and I really love the Quizlet. They have 50 literary devices, and you can do the flashcards, you can learn, speller, test, scatter, space race, all of those fun things to make it more interesting. So hopefully the kids will really like this lesson. I think it'll be fun to teach, fun to read all of the stuff they come up with, and fun to watch the presentations. I always loved Poe and Dickinson and Shelley, so hopefully they will as well. This has been my lesson plan for my 11th grade class. Have a good day, guys.